This year, we came up with a different idea. And over the years, many of you have heard me speak about trends, and hopefully some of them have resonated with you. But we decided to mix it up a little bit this year. So I'm going to talk about some trends, and then we're going to have a panel of RDs who are going to be up here and challenge me or agree with me or just tell me I don't know what I'm talking about. So the first person to tell me that I don't know what I'm talking about, Julie McMillan, come on up. Shelby Miller and Yvette Waters. Please join us on stage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to run through certain trends, then we'll take a pause and I'll ask them questions. And again, feel free to agree, disagree, whatever. We're all friends. I know Julie well, I know Hy-Vee well. I've been in many of their stores, so I can call her out on things. Same thing with Yvette. I had the opportunity a couple months ago to tour some stores with her and what you're doing, and it's, you know, I'm going to key in on one thing that Yvette is doing that I think is groundbreaking. And unfortunately, Shelby, I haven't been in your stores. You haven't invited me.
That's okay.
You haven't invited me.
Oh, well,
yeah.
Consider this a formal invitation.
So why is it so important that we're talking about trends? First of all, consumer needs change and evolve. No one knows that better than you all. Based on the questions that you hear from consumers going up and down the aisles, this is a constantly evolving process. I mean, my job when anybody asks me what I do for a living is I basically say I walk up and down the aisles of supermarkets, I tap them on the shoulder and say, why did you buy this? Why didn't you buy that? And that every day is challenging and it's moving. And our jobs collectively in this room is 24/7. Never think that you have a day off or a minute off because the world is moving so rapidly. And we're going to talk about some of these changes that our opportunity and our job is to stay in front of those. Number two, the retail landscape is changing. You know this. I've said this before. If you've got a 45,000 square foot supermarket, you're a dinosaur, you're dead, you're extinct, get out of the way. What we really need is we need evolution, and we're seeing some of the new stores that are evolving. I know that Hy-Vee has been one of the most out there, forefront, trying new things constantly, and Yvette with Rayleigh is doing the same kind of thing. We're going to see more and more of that. And I'm not just talking about e-commerce. I'm talking about bricks and mortars, because bricks and mortar is critical to our business. Let's remember, with all the hype, e-commerce is 2 to 3%. The most it's ever going to get is about 10%, and I'll talk a little bit about that later. So let's not think in terms of everything is e-commerce. And number three, technology. Technology is screwing with us every step of the way. It really is. And just when we think we have it figured out, something new happens that changes the way people are shopping, the way people are discovering information. And again, when people go on Google and they're talking about health and wellness, the problem is that half the stuff that comes up is true and half is not true. The problem is that they don't know what's true and what's not true, which is why you guys exist, to help really shift out all that. Probably the most important thing for us to determine is what's the difference between a trend and a fad. Because we've got a lot of fads. And we can talk about that. And, you know, again, I am not an RD. So some of the things that I might say, you're going to say, whoa, he really has no idea what he's talking about. Keto for me is a fad. There's nothing based in science on keto. And what's happening, what really disturbs me, and we've got a consumer panel of about 100,000 consumers that we're constantly surveying and so on, are all these consumers who are out there flocking to keto. So forget number one about the health aspects of what a keto diet can do to people. But number two, you know, how manufacturers, how retailers are now creating keto sections and all this other stuff and taking our eye off the ball about good health and good wellness and balance that we need. So a trend is something that's identifiable, and explainable, no question about it. It has a real function. It's not just a bunch of hype that we're seeing. It's consistent with the way people are living, which I think is critical. And also, a trend grows slowly. It's not we turn around and then, across the street from our office in Santa Monica, there's Bulletproof Coffee. And that's their headquarters. And they've got a bulletproof lifestyle lab. I think that's what it's called. So you can go there, and I have a friend who's really, this exercise god. I mean, he's tall, he's thin, he exercises constantly, whatever else. He went there, and Jason left like a wimp. They actually put a mask on you, and they put you on a bicycle, a motorized bicycle, and then they suck the oxygen out of your body to see, to bring you right near passing out. That to me is a fad. I don't think that's a trend. And also, when we look at trends, it's about multiple brands. It's not just one brand that's out there that's doing well. Kombucha, whether you like it or not, that is a trend. We're clearly seeing that as a trend. We have multiple brands out there. We're now having brand extensions out there. We're now seeing kombucha with CBD. A few of you were here last year. We had a panel on CBD and what was going on with that. So, we need to really look between the difference between trends and fads. And it appeals to a lot of different consumers. It's just not that 18 to 20-year-old male who makes over $50,000 a year who doesn't have a job. That's not a trend. That's a fad. So, and I'll go through the fads quickly. I wake up in the morning and, wow, I got to buy this. A lot of us used to feel that way about iPhones, for example, until we got the next iPhone. We have a lot of hype, a lot of idealism that's attached to it. It's ill-conceived benefits. You're going to take this, and after a month, again, Bulletproof Coffee is a great example. You're going to raise your IQ, you're going to be sharper, you're going to lose weight, and you're going to live forever. The owner of Bulletproof, I don't know if you guys know the story about Bulletproof? Okay, so this is a guy who's really in shape, who's climbing a mountain somewhere, Mount Kilimanjaro or whatever it is. He is to the point where he's going to die. He's gone too high, he has no food, and out of, the shadows comes a Sherpa and brings him hot coffee with butter in it. I don't know where you get hot coffee on the top of, a mountain, but yeah, sure. So gives it to him, and that changes his life. And that's the beginning of Bulletproof Coffee, and he proposes for all of us to do that same kind of lifestyle. I will tell you that it's probably one of the busiest places on Main Street in Santa Monica. But, he has a beautiful Ferrari, which I love. He spends 2 hours a day in an oxygen chamber like Michael Jackson used to, and he has publicly said that he's going to live to age 140. If you actually look at a picture of him, and I think he's somewhere around 50, he actually looks now like he's 70, which I don't get. So we'll see what happens there. They often don't deliver on their promises, which I think is something very important for us to look at when it comes to a lot of new food products. It spikes really quick. It's like the pet rock, and then we lose it. Usually it's just one brand that's out there doing it, and it has a very limited appeal. So one of the trends that I think is the most important that we've seen coming over the past couple of years is we call mindfulness. Not just we, but everybody calls mindfulness. The idea that people are thinking more about their food, more about their health. And Morgan Spurlock, who's a friend, he did Super Size Me, the movie. In fact, I guess there's two movies that I'm in. One is Super Size Me, and the other one is about Katz's Deli in New York. I was interviewed for both. Didn't offer me an Academy Award at all. But Morgan came up with this great term called transparalocalicious. And that says it all to me. When you think about transparent, local, and delicious, that covers the basis for what I think we should be approaching as it relates to food and as it relates to supermarkets and retail. We know and you know more than anybody else, that people are reading labels, people care about what they eat, people are digging down into ingredient statements more than ever before, and coming to you with more specific questions than probably Judy and Jane ever had 10, 15, 20 years ago. We've got people who care more. We finally have this connection between what we eat and how well and how long we are going to live. And that's huge. And that means that for you, the wind is at your back. And I know being in the trenches and in many companies, whether they be family owned or corporately owned, you've got a lot of challenges. You've got a lot of pressures. I'm thrilled to hear about the Kroger research. And I hope you're going to share that with us at RDBA, and we can share it with everybody to really define how important RDs are. And we constantly at RDBA are telling your story to the CEOs and to the C-suite and really reinforcing how important you are. I just had the opportunity a few weeks ago. I was telling Stephanie, she didn't even know. I spoke at Spartan Nash's Victory Tour, or whatever it's called, Victory Tour, where they bring in all their top customers. And it was lovely. It was at the Breakers in West Palm Beach in Florida. And, you know, as part of my trends thing, I was telling them what Stephanie was doing and all the kinds of assets that she's created for them. And I want to say that probably half of them maybe had heard of it, but weren't aware of it. And that's one of the jobs that we take on at RDBA because we've got to get your message out there. You do too, but we want to help you make sure that everybody knows how great you are. 73% of consumers want to know about transparency, where the products come from, how they're grown. We've all seen, you know, the clip about the chicken on Portlandia, but the reality is that, hey, a lot of consumers are like that today. I'm not saying that they know why they're asking, and I think that's the opportunity for us. They're asking because they know that they should be asking, but they don't know either about the answer or why they're asking, and I think that's important. And if we look around the world, and this comes from Innova, about the amount of introductions of products that are coming out that are addressing our body and our mind, it is huge, and it's going further. And it's all about, you know, peace of mind and ethical concerns, and even with all the stress that people are going through now. And if you've never read Stress in America, it's an annual report that comes out from the American Psychological Association. It's online, it's free, read it. This one is focused on millennials. Last year was focused on politics, but you should read it because there's a lot of gems of what consumers in the US are really focused on and why they're very nervous. And what we're seeing as it relates to food is two things, probably three things. One is people are drinking more, which is why we've added alcohol tonight. Only kidding. Second is that people are eating more to relieve stress. And third, as a result of eating more, they're exercising more. So, you know, a lot of that stuff. So download, it's called Stress in America. It comes out every year. It's really worthwhile. I love what CVS is doing. And what they're doing is creating different displays at the front of the store. This one is called Snacks That Give Back. And they've taken brands that are giving back to charity, put them in the front of the store, not charging them a promotional allowance to do it, but really tying in really well. And keep in mind that CVS and Walgreens are your competitors. As they're building new stores, 50% of it is food. Now, a lot of it's still not necessarily healthy food, but they're getting there. And in certain areas like Manhattan, they're getting there really quickly. So, you know, we need to be doing programs like this, that it's not necessarily all about the money. And if you've got a merchandiser or a buyer who's telling you, great idea, but it's all about money, please give him my phone number or give me his phone number or his or her phone number, and let me talk to them. Because this is what builds relationships with shoppers. You can play the game of charging the least for a can of peas in your circular and getting that shopper who always wants the cheapest can of peas, or you can build a relationship with your shoppers. And frankly, there's nothing more important than building a relationship built on health and wellness. Because I know all of you have had these experiences. You have someone coming in who's recently diagnosed with heart disease or diabetes. They've come back from their doctor and they don't know what to do. Share a little story with you that goes back, that actually happened at the Lincoln Park ShopRite in New Jersey more than 10 years ago. Let me say that. This woman walks in, and Lincoln Park ShopRite at the time was one of the biggest supermarkets in the country when they first redid it and built it. And their olive oil section had at least 100 different brands of olive oil in it. So I see this woman, probably in her mid-70s, standing in front of the olive oil section and looking very confused. So, you know, I knew the owner, Morty Wolfson. I know his son, who now operates at Larry, very well. So I really had the run of the store, which was kind of cool. I could do all kinds of things there. So I walked up to her and I said, "Can I help you? You know, you look confused." And she said, "Do you work with the store?" And I said, "No." And so she sort of looked at me and I said, "Yeah, but I know a little bit about olive oil. What can I help you with?" She said, "Well, I just came back from the doctor and my husband has high cholesterol. And the doctor said I should switch to olive oil, but there's so many olive oils. You know, you have extra virgin, extra light had just come on the scene at that time, regular, imported, domestic, flavor, you know, all this stuff. I don't know what to do." So I said, "Okay, let's ratchet it back. Tell me how you cook now, and I can probably tell you which olive oil to get now." She said, "Well, I never cook with oil. I bake or I broil." Well, those are the kinds of questions that we need to be asking. Because here, a doctor, and as we all know, doctors know nothing about nutrition except good restaurants to go to. What we find is that people aren't going further enough with the questions. So here was somebody who was baking and broiling whatever they ate, and based on what the doc was saying, they were going to start cooking with oil. I don't care what kind of oil it is, it's still oil. It's still fat that you're adding to it. So what we need to make sure that we're doing is constantly asking the next question. Because when we do that, we succeed, and frankly, we help our shoppers. We help them live longer, we help them live better, and as a result, they're frankly going to give your banners more money. Also, vegetarian and vegan. It's huge and it's getting bigger and bigger and bigger. Make no mistake about it, this is a trend. Now what we're seeing is certain people going totally vegan, and I apologize if anybody in this room is totally vegan to what I'm going to say next, but we then start seeing them lose their hair. So we need to be able to make sure that they understand that there's something in between vegan and being an omnivore. That you can have certain things, if you look at the Mushroom Council, what they've done with the blend, for example, and other, now, I think it's Albertsons, correct me if I'm wrong, you've now started selling ground beef with cauliflower, ground beef with mushrooms, ground beef with something else, some other plant-based, you know, packaged in the butcher department. Not that somebody has to make it at home. So there is something in between being a total vegan and being an omnivore, and I think our role is to share that with people and understand what balance is all about. But clearly a trend, we're seeing people going on vegetarian vacations, and it's not just about the food. It's aligning their values with the resort, with the hotel, everything that they do, that it's sustainable for the planet, that it's sustainable for animal welfare. So we've got a lot more attributes to think about than we have ever thought about before in our lives. It used to be simple. Oh, you want to lose weight, you have heart disease, you have diabetes, here's what you can do. Not anymore. Now we have to worry about all these other attributes that people are asking us and thinking about. So I want to say we've gone from a scare mentality, if you don't do this, if you don't eat this, you're going to die, to a more inspirational. And that's where you all come in. And that's what consumers are looking for. They're not looking to be scared to death. They're looking to be inspired on how to live a long and healthy life that's not a short-term solution, that's not a short-term diet for them, that it's not a short-term supplement that they can take and then do whatever they want to do. It's more of changing the way they think. Also, probably one of the most inspirational things that I've seen, and hopefully you have too in your banners, is about wasting food. We know that food waste is critical, whether the number's 40, 42%, 50%. Bottom line, we're wasting way too much food. And what consumers don't understand is most of that waste is coming from them, either from overbuying, overcooking, or throwing out foods, whether it's for expiration dates or they made too much. That's where most of the waste is coming from. I can tell you that CPG companies as well as retailers are working very hard and have been working hard to reduce waste in operations. We've taken a lot out of that. I can tell you that from a farming standpoint, we're seeing more farmers, more ranchers reducing waste than ever before. Quick commercial, because Jane did a commercial before. If you haven't heard our podcast, Farm Food Facts, check it out. Go to supermarketguru.com, Farm Food Facts. Every week we talk about a thought leader in agriculture and we talk to a farmer about what they're facing. And this past year in farming has been devastating because of weather, because of flooding. I mean, forget the whole tariff thing with soybeans and so on. I mean, my heart breaks every time I talk to a soybean farmer. They've got more soybeans in storage, just hoping that they're going to one day be able to sell them for a price that they can get. But check it out. I think there's a really good resource for you. So we're really seeing people being more inspired than waste than ever before, and we're seeing lots of experts coming out on the culinary side, as well as the health and nutrition and farming side, telling people that waste is not right. We've seen a new food entrepreneur rise up, and I apologize that the slides are hard to see. And we'll also be sending you a link to all the presentations after that you can download and so on. So don't go crazy trying to read things. But what I can tell you is the new food entrepreneur, whether it be on a retail side or whether it be on a CPG side, is really focused on four things: social conscience, caring about each other, health and wellness, enhanced nutrition, and life hacking. And a lot of that, frankly, is being driven by those people in Silicon Valley who are getting into the food world. And we're going to talk a little bit more about that in a couple minutes. So now we're going to go to our panel and ask you guys some questions. So I'm going to pick on Julie first because I do.
All right.
Julie, how do you determine what food, diets, or health information fall under a trend or a fad category?
Right, so many of you in the room, when you stood up and did your bios, you're looking at new products, you're deciding if they're going to stick, where they're going to go in the categories. So I have a little acronym I teach our buyers around fad, and it's, is this going to be for a day, or is this going to be for a long term? If it's just for a day, that's great, that's a fad. I did FAD for a day.
We got that.
So if it's going to stick longer and it's going to be a trend, and those are generally, they go into a category. So they're going to fit into a category set like gluten-free or FODMAP or some actual hard sets in your stores. And that's how we determine if it's a trend. I also have the buyers ask themselves if it's going to fit into an eating lifestyle. That's kind of a new term you hear a lot. Because if it's going to fit in an eating lifestyle, that's something someone's going to stick with for a while. And again, we need to make it easy to follow that eating lifestyle, and that's a trend as well.
Yvette?
Yeah.
Well, before Yvette talks, so I just want to tell you, probably a lot of you have read about this or seen this. Not to call out anyone over anybody else, because you all do great work. I love what Yvette has done. She went to their owner, Michael Teal, and said, I have this idea. I know that sugar is an issue for our customers in Northern California. So just imagine this conversation. I imagine conversations that always take place in boardrooms of retailers. So she goes to him and says, here's what I want to do. My words, not her words. You can explain it better. What I want to do is I want to take the sugar-coated cereals that are eye level for kids. I want to move them to the bottom shelf. I want to put a label on them that says they're overly high in sugar. My words, not hers. She'll give you the right words. And then I want to take the healthy cereals, put a label on them saying that these are healthier, lower in sugar, and put them at eye level. Can you just imagine what happened in Kellogg's and General Mills boardrooms when they heard about this? So, correctly, Rayleigh's reached out to those companies and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And I'm sure there was a lot of pushback. No, we'll give you money. No, don't do this. And Yvette prevailed. And that's what you see now in Rayleigh's. And she's going through and doing the same thing in other categories. I think you're on condiments now.
Yep.
Okay.
Pasta sauce is coming out and
Condiments,
right after.
pasta sauces, and so on. So that takes guts to be able to fight two of the biggest food companies in the country and go to your owner or senior management and say, here's what I want to do for the good of our customers. And I think that's really, really cool, as you know, as I've told you before. So tell me the difference between a fad and a trend. And
the biggest thing that we want to do with sugar was just provide an informed decision for our consumers. We also didn't allow any more promotional money, no end caps. We also discontinued our private label products that were having 25% or more calories coming from added sugar. Obviously, as we know, 25 is super, super high. But just looking at providing information to our consumers. So it's been really nice because Mike Teal, he's hilarious. But the team is always super, super supportive, and it is a family-owned company, so I have the ability to push a little further sometimes. When it comes to fads versus trends, I mean, I feel like Julie just nailed it. Big thing when it comes to fads is we're looking also if it's fashionable or not. When looking at trends, I'm looking more into the research, things like that, if it fits into a category, but also looking into what other places are doing, not just retail. So looking into art, looking into fashion, looking into what the restaurants are doing. They have the ability to be very innovative very quickly. So seeing what they're doing, seeing what the research goes with it, and then also what I personally do is I travel. I've been negotiating to go and travel globally to different places, spend some time over there, see what the cultural aspects of various communities are, and then come back and explain to my team what we think is a little bit more fashionable in a trend sense or in a fad sense versus in a trend sense. So trying to get an overall picture and seeing what we're doing on a global level, not just in our little hub in Northern California, Northern Nevada region.
Shelby?
Does this work now?
Yes.
Okay, fun. I have the perspective of the health food store, so I'm sure as the Whole Foods dietitian knows, we kind of follow the fads and we follow the trends, but at Natural Grocers, I think that we try to ensure that they're founded in science and founded in research. So I have to disagree with you on the keto diet being a trend. There's actually a lot of really cool research out there on the ketogenic diet and its support of metabolic health and mitochondrial health. But those are our shoppers. Our shoppers are the people that are reading all of the blogs and are the latest on all of this nutrition. And I don't think we're going to give them unhealthy food in any way. We're just...
Can I take a vote?
Okay, yeah.
Okay. How many of you think keto is a fad?
It's fine.
And how many of you think it's a trend? So it's about 50-50.
Yeah,
Okay.
yeah. I think it's really cool. Natural Grocers just has a different perspective than I think a lot of the big box grocery stores or the mom and pop stores, because we have a client base that expects to see those products in the store.
Heidi?
So I deal with, well, like Shelby said, first of all, certainly look and see if it's science-based, if there's any science behind it. But because I deal with consumers, I also try and get them to think about the source, whether it's a fad or a trend is coming from. If it's a Kardashian plugging it, or if it's something they saw on YouTube, then I tend to encourage them to think about where did those people learn their nutrition information, and think that maybe that's more of a fad and not so much a trend. If it's something about, also I look at, is it about a specific food and its benefits? For example, if it's something about beets, then okay, that's a food that we know is healthy. There are lots of positive nutrients in it. So looking at what the food provides and what we know about it to see if it's more of a trend.
Next question, and whoever wants to take it first, now that we've gone up and down the line, we can be more formal. Mindfulness. Is it people being more aware of what they're choosing to eat? It seems to be a growing trend. What are the kinds of questions that your shoppers are asking you about foods these days?
Can I pounce on this
Yeah.
one? At Natural Grocers, we've really found that people are less concerned with the nutrition panel, like how many grams of sugar, how many calories, and more concerned with the ingredients. People want foods that have recognizable ingredients, short lists of ingredients, and they want that kind of level of transparency rather than how many grams of sugar. Do you want this? Sure. Okay.
I think I completely agree on the aspect of they're looking into the ingredients, and but also I call it like mindfulness going mainstream. They're wanting mindful choices along with mindful sourcing. So instead of just the ingredients, they also want to see what's going on in the packaging. They want to see what's going on in the sourcing. I'm super curious. I've been trying to think this entire time what the chicken's name is in Portlandia. I always mix it up with David.
Colin, right.
Colin.
Right.
So looking at it as an overall approach of the mindful choices and mindful sourcing.
I 100% agree. I think the question we're getting more and more is, where's this from? And then where's the specific product from? But also then they're digging into the ingredients because they know what those ingredients are. And then they want to know where the ingredients are coming from as well. So we're really, really trying to work with our manufacturers to make sure that we can trace everything back. And I do think that mindfulness, just in the last year, it seems like, so you nailed it on your 2018 trends, by the way. It definitely exploded this year with the questions of where things are coming from. And
So Julie, I hear what you're saying, but it's got to be challenging for your buyers, for everybody at Hy-Vee to then go back and get that information from the manufacturers, because a lot of the manufacturers might not even know where their ingredients are coming from, right?
absolutely.
So how do we fix that?
I think it's going to be bigger than one retailer, for sure. But we push our suppliers to supply that to us, and they have a window of opportunity before they come in. But then if they can't produce that evidence or that traceability, then we're pushing back on them a little harder. One of the
To throw them out?
Not necessarily yet, but I don't know if down the road if that's not something individuals will do. We did a recent study, and 65% of our shoppers are willing to switch brands based on where the product comes from and the traceability that's on the package. So if it's not there, those customers are going to assume, and they're going to assume the worst. They're going to assume we're adding maybe not the best ingredients or what they define as the best ingredients. They're going to assume we're hiding something. So maybe we're sourcing something from somewhere we shouldn't. So yeah.
How does that relate, if at all, to Hy-Vee's private brands?
We, as many of the retailers in the room, we too also developed a clean list. Clean can mean so much different. And I'm not gonna lie, we looked at our friends list and we said, okay, do we want this product on there? Do we not? And we sat down with the regulatory team, because the reality is, as dietitians, you're the experts in the room. You know, if you take a product out of those, what's going to happen to the quality. And sometimes it can 100% deplete the quality. So there are certain ingredients that we left on our clean list because of that. But then we gave our consumers the explanation as why we left them on that list.
Anything else on mindfulness? Okay. Last question, we're going to go back to trends. And maybe Julie, you answered this well, but Anything more on transparency? What else do we need to do? I know that there's certain brands that have been putting QR codes on their products so you can take your phone and you can see where the chicken came from and that kind of stuff. Is that working? Is that transparency? Or is there something else that brands need to be doing?
So at Natural Grocers, we take transparency to a whole nother level, in my opinion. We've recently, natural flavors are a big thing with transparency, like what is in natural flavors. The Environmental Working Group wrote an article on all of the incidental additives, so the non-flavoring ingredients that can be added to a natural flavor, and a lot of those ingredients fall on our list of ingredients that are like things we won't carry and why. A lot of companies now have big website pages called, this is the list of ingredients that you won't find on our shelves, that you can trust not to find on our shelves. And and fragrance in the body care aisles. A lot of people want to know, like, what is in this? Why is it proprietary? Why can't we know? But those are definitely our shoppers, are the people that want it. Like, we don't want natural flavors in our products anymore.
So it's not artificial, it's not natural, it's none.
Well, or just tell us what's in it. Let us know what's in it. So I developed a new questionnaire. So essentially our new standard at Natural Grocers, and this is like a few weeks ago, is that we only allow organic natural flavors. So in order to achieve any organic, 100% USDA organic, made with organic ingredients, the National Organic Program requires you to go through a very strenuous questionnaire if you include natural flavors, just on your natural flavors and the flavoring ingredients and the incidental additives. And so we've basically applied that standard to all products, whether or not you're organic.
So I understand that your shoppers are different than most of the shoppers from...
We've got some hippies.
You've got some hippies?
Yeah.
What advice can you give to the more mainstream retailers in the room based on that experience, based on that learning? Do you think that that's going to go mainstream, and this is a time for them to gear up for those hippies coming into their stores?
I mean, I think it definitely is going mainstream. I think that you see, Hy-Vee has the health and wellness section. That's, those are like the Natural Grocers aisles, sort of part of the store. I mean, we kind of see it as concerning because now where you used to be able to just go to Natural Grocers to find all of these products, now you can go anywhere and find our products. So that's, these big box stores are snagging in on our hot real estate.
So how are you going to fight that?
We are trying to highlight our differentiators, that we only carry 100% organic produce. We stick to our guns. We will drop a brand if it doesn't meet our standards, even if it's not profitable to drop that brand. Like, our customers value the integrity of our standards, and the founders and the executives really stick to their guns. So in terms of advice for the non-hippie stores, I wear that badge very proudly. I think just listening to what consumers want, and knowing your market. I mean, I'm from Omaha, Nebraska, so Hy-Vee was my favorite grocery store, and that's what people in the Midwest really like. They love Hy-Vee and Natural Grocers. Nobody really knows about it in the Midwest, even though we have stores there. So it's just listening to your market, I guess, and listening to consumer demand.
Okay, let's move on to some other trends, then we're going to go back to our panel. So the next one that I see really well is tactile. And I think that everything that we do about food should cover the 5 senses. And I don't care whether we're writing or printing a recipe, doing a demo in store, having a package, having an advertisement, whatever. I think that if we think in terms of meeting the 5 senses as best we can, we will win. We will succeed. And I think that's the grounding of food. And we forget that very often. In the 70s and 80s in retail, a lot of retailers were just piling it high and selling it cheap. That's what they thought would sell. And the reality is that those stores that had the great produce department, that had the great butcher department, I know at Hy-Vee, they've gone even a step further with their butcher department, that now there's a little case where they're aging beef. I think it's just beef. And you could go buy a steak for like $100 or whatever it is that they're aging right there. I mean, that's multi-sensory. Even if you never buy that steak, that says to you, wow, Hy-Vee really cares about food. And you see it going and you smell it and things like that. So I think that that's good, because I think what we're seeing now more than ever before is people want to connect with their food both physically as well as emotionally, as well as intellectually, what we heard here. And it can't be just one or the other. I go back, and some of you might not remember this because you weren't born, I don't know. But the first phase of Oat Bran, it was phenomenal, where everything came out with Oat Bran, and there were actually, we actually did this on the Today Show. There was actually a couple people that got rushed to the hospital. They ate so much Oat Bran that they had to be cut open and it scooped out of them. They couldn't digest it. So again, talking about fad or trend. So we go through these ebb and tides. So first Oat Bran was like, oh, I'm gonna live on Oat Bran. It was like Soylent. And then we start incorporating whole grains into our diet. So we've always got to look at that differentiation. I don't know how many of you are familiar with, I know Julie has seen this before, autonomous sensory meridian response. I am fascinated by this. And I am so fascinated by this that Reese's Peanut Butter Cups just announced last week that they are doing an 82-minute movie on ASMR. Now, if you don't know what ASMR is, there's a bunch of mostly teenage, late teen girls who are on YouTube who are doing these kinds of videos. I'm going to show you a clip from one of them, who get anywhere between 1 million and 20 million views. And the idea is that they're really taking the other sounds, not words, that we use all the time to really raise the hair on the back of your neck, make you tingle based on what they're doing. And these teen ASMR people are making hundreds of thousands of dollars a year, if not millions of dollars. So take a look. This is not the full clip, but it'll give you just some idea of what this is all about. She got about 100 grand for that. It's really talking about the sounds of opening up packages and the sounds of chewing and whispering. So somebody really gets involved in what you're saying. So check it out on YouTube, and you'd be fascinated. The food ASMR videos that are out there. Also, if I look at Aldi, and I happen to be a fan of a lot of the things that Aldi does, because I think they're really creative. So they don't sell, they don't have any stores in Korea. They only sell through Alibaba. So what they did is, to promote themselves, is they had a food fashion show where all the models were dressed in food. There was a popcorn bustier, a cookie kilt, wheat hat, men's coat, all kinds of things broadcast live. And I know it's hard to see, but on the sides of the runway were actually people who I believe spent the equivalent of $1,000 US to sit there and have dinner on the edge of the runway during this fashion show. The PR that they received was enormous. Let's think out of the box. Let's think differently. Let's use all 5 senses in order to sell food. One of the innovations that I am thrilled about is 3D printed food. I'm going to go back to waste for a second. When I walk into any of your stores and I go up to the bakery department, I will see beautiful birthday cakes and wedding cakes and all kinds of cakes that just sit there, and probably half of them, I don't know as a fact, but half of them get tossed. Wouldn't it be cool if I could go up to your bakery department, have either a kiosk or an iPad there, and then key in that I want a whole grain, gluten-free, no sugar, whatever kind of cake, and it can be printed on a 3D printing machine while I do the rest of my shopping. And it's customized, it's personalized for me exactly the way I want. And from a retail standpoint, there's no waste. 3D printers are now available for you from Hanschemacher Schlemmer, where you could buy a 3D pizza printer for about $1,000. We're seeing more and more 3D printing of food. If you go back 4 years ago at South by Southwest, Mondelez, or I guess Kraft at that time, were printing 3D Oreos for people. The technology is there. What we need to do is understand not only the waste factor, but the personalization factor of what 3D food can do for us. It is huge and can make a real difference, especially as it relates to health and wellness. I want to spend a minute on vertical farms because I'm intrigued by them. They're expensive. We see them going up throughout the world. Probably the US is last as it relates to vertical farms, but we are seeing more investments than ever before. You can't grow everything. You can grow these crops that are there that satisfy a lot. But just imagine, and again, I live in California. I love California. We are, where most, if not all, lettuce is grown in the US, and a lot of fruits and vegetables. Imagine the idiocy of growing lettuce, a bag of lettuce in California, and shipping it to New York. The impact on the environment from gasoline, from transportation, the cost, and so on. I'm in Manhattan probably half my life, and as I walk around, I see a lot of empty buildings. Why not take one of the office buildings, take 5 floors in Midtown Manhattan, put a vertical farm in it? And that way you grow it right there. Now, there are some indoor farms right over the bridge and the tunnel in New Jersey, in Kearney, New Jersey, Aero Farms, for example, that are doing that. But we're going to see more of that. The idea of transporting, produce from California, which is literally under fire, under water, under drought, under everything, it just doesn't work. It's not sustainable for us. Silicon Valley, no question about it, is disrupting the food world. When we look at all of these startups that are happening, especially in cellular agriculture, we're seeing a lot more innovation than ever before. You should be aware of it. It is changing everything. If you look at Beyond Meat's IPO just a week or so ago, being the most successful IPO that we've seen this year. I know Ethan. Ethan Brown is a great guy. The interesting story about Beyond Meat, his parents are environmental professors. That's not their title, but they're professors of the environment. Let me say it that way. He grew up outside of Maryland, and what they did when he was a kid is they actually bought a farm so that they, as college professors do, can go for the weekend and relax and so on. And they had cows on the farm. And Ethan got to know the cows really well. They didn't slaughter them. I think they milked them. But bottom line is he has this love of animals and he has this love of the environment, and that's why he's created Beyond Meat. And we're going to see both Beyond Meat and Impossible Foods growing by leaps and bounds. If you look at the companies that have signed on, everybody from White Castle to Taco Bell to Burger King. I mean, these are major mainstream brands that are now carrying these products. So you should be looking at, not only from a nutrition standpoint, but also from a trend standpoint, what is going on with these products. I also think we're going to see a whole new way of talking to people, and I call it truth in advertising. And I'm going to show you a clip. This is not, again, the entire commercial, but I'm going to show you a clip of a commercial that I think is absolutely fabulous. And I'd like to see more of these kinds of commercials, and I'd like to see even retailers start running more commercials like this.
How do we keep the bull away from our eggs? It's simple. We give our hens some space. A lot of it. At Vital Farms, our hens get 108 square feet per hen. How much room does a cage-free hen get? About 1 square foot per hen. I know.
So, I might be talking out of school, and if I am, Julie will kick me. I had been walking around with Hy-Vee CEO Randy Edeker at a new store probably about a year and a half or 2 years ago. And we were walking, and this whole cage-free thing is really annoying to me. And you know, Hy-Vee at the time, I don't know if things have changed, but we're one of the few retailers who did not say we're going to go 100% cage-free, which I am all in favor, because we can't do 100% cage-free, and it's bullshit anyway. And I said to Randy, I said, why? Why have you not signed up with all your peers who have done this? And he said, one basic reason. I care about all of our shoppers. And a lot of our shoppers are on SNAP, and they use eggs as their primary source of protein. And if I go all cage-free, some of them are not going to be able to afford protein. Think about that. As we rush to have everything cage-free, which again is meaningless anyway. I mean, to be honest with you, and we're upping the price of eggs $1 or $2 a carton. How many millions, tens of millions, 50 million people are we going to be excluding from having good, solid protein with an egg because they can't afford cage-free? And for them, it's about eating or not eating. They don't care about a bogus claim. So with that, next question. Let's talk about education. What's the role that you guys have to educate people? Should you be out there, and I know you have to sell the whole store. I've heard that time and time again from you all, from senior management. Yeah, you know, I want a registered dietitian in the store, but everything in the store, they still got to sell. Still got to sell the, you know, Cocoa Krispies and, you know, Mike and Ike's and all that other stuff, whether they want to or not. So what role do you all have in educating consumers to, frankly, the truth? Who wants to start?
So I've always been it's about balance. I think everybody is so gung-ho on, okay, it's black and white. It's either all or nothing. And it's teaching people that's not it. I would like, as the store dietitian, to encourage you to select more of the plant-based foods, the whole grains and things like that. But I'm not saying you can't buy a candy bar once in a while, or something from the lower in your store, sugar cereals once in a while as a treat. I mean, I think food is meant to be enjoyed, and if we're constantly feeling guilty because we're eating something that we shouldn't be, or we're teaching our kids, no, we can't eat those foods because they're bad, I don't think that's a good precedent to set. It's not a good role model. It's not an achievable goal. That's always my thing for teaching people. Set achievable goals. And if right now you're eating sugar-sweetened cereal every day, all right, so let's swap it out and maybe have it on the weekends and choose one of these other ones the rest of the day. And that way it's balancing the more nutritious foods with some of the less nutritious foods. And like I said, it's just balance.
So is chocolate-covered kale the solution? Yes?
Yeah, I mean, yeah, why not?
Yeah.
Especially if
So
it's dark.
Shelby's saying yes.
If it's dark chocolate covered.
Okay. Yeah, so talk about education and chocolate-covered kale. And it was a joke. It really was.
No, we don't have chocolate-covered kale yet at Natural Grocers.
You'll probably see it at Sweets and Snacks. For those of you that are going to walk around Sweets and Snacks, you'll probably see it.
I mean, they have like chocolate-flavored greens powder, so it's not super far off if you want to add a greens powder to a smoothie. At Natural Grocers, it's one of our 5 founding principles. The company was founded on nutrition education, so we offer our nutrition education is free to all of our customers, whether it's classes, one-on-one coaching sessions, and we're basically trying to empower customers to make informed decisions. We're not saying like, oh, it sounds like you've got digestive issue X, Y, or Z, so you should eat this. We're trying to give them a foundation so that they can make informed decision, and that's really where we feel like empowering our customers.
So if somebody comes up to you and they say, okay, you know, I hear all about the cage-free egg thing, do you tell them they should buy cage-free eggs? Or?
Okay, well, I'll plug Natural Grocers because maybe you'll like this. I don't know. So we have a standard where not only are we cage free, but we are free range pasture raised eggs, and so a minimum of like 5 square feet per hen. So we have been cage free since like 1965, and now we're free range. So we went beyond that, and then because it is expensive, it is expensive to buy. Vital Farms eggs are like sometimes $5.99 a carton of eggs. So we use it as a loss leader to get people into the store. So we have $1.99 eggs, and then for our like NPower Loyalty Club, it's 99 cents for our free range eggs.
Wow.
So.
No, that is great. Love it.
We do the same with it being a loss leader. For us, we can use food as a stressor or food as fuel. So essentially, internal education, getting out to the consumer of external education. We go with like things that are a little bit more nutritious with everyday good additions, healthy type of food products, also like moderation munchies, and then sweet treats. Like being able to, instead of ever food shame, and necessarily provide that informed decision. They're welcome to have those Lucky Charms. Absolutely, there's unicorns on them. Why not? But also at the same time, looking at the blue tags along with the gold tags of like a gold standard or something like that. Maybe not have that Lucky Charms every single day. Maybe even mix it along with something that's a little bit more nourishing. So supporting that, not necessarily food shaming, but understanding that entire balance as a whole is what we like.
Do you think as a group, not retail dietitians or dietitians in general, but people to people, do you think that there's a lot of food shaming going on?
Oh, I personally think there's tons of it. And that's kind of hard because when food becomes a stressor, we're seeing hormonal responses to it. So that's what I'm doing with my team constantly is educating that food should not be shamed. And we shouldn't be shamed. If I want to eat a donut, I'm going to eat a donut. It's going to be delicious. But understanding where you're at in your journey of health and wellness and then supporting them on their journey to health and wellness. That's what we don't want to say ever a common theme of eat this, not that. It's eat this, but maybe this as well. Or let's maybe navigate through this together on our wellness journey together.
So how in that conversation to a shopper do you broach that in a way that you get the information that you need? You're not shaming them, you're not making them feel bad, and you're not sending them in a direction that is just, one focus that is not where you want them to go, but you want them to have that balance you talked about.
I would say it's like slightly nudging. What we kind of do, what we just did, we call our bold moves, but we removed all conventional candies in the check stand. So you're not going to necessarily see a Reese's, you'll see a Justin's, you'll see the sweet treats there, a little bit better for you ingredients, but we didn't necessarily take out Reese's, we just moved it to down the aisle. We don't have any soda in the front anymore. We have soda waters, unsweetened teas, things to that capacity. We didn't necessarily move them out of the store. We just shifted them. So supporting that point of purchase technique, that spontaneous purchase at the check stand, absolutely, there's still things there. There's different, more innovative products out there. And then if they're wanting the Reese's, absolutely, you're just gonna have to walk a little bit further down the aisle to get it. That's what we do. Anybody else?
So obviously we have a handful of dietitians, and as you guys can imagine, when you're training a large number of dietitians, they all have different beliefs and have been trained differently. Our biggest training tool is we tell our dietitians to meet their customers where they're at. It's all about asking those open-ended questions like you'd mentioned. Dig into why are they standing in front of this set, struggling with what to choose, and then help make those choices a little bit easier for them. But our customers range. I mean, we do have some hippie customers, I'll use your term, and what they're needing, where they're at in their wellness journey is totally different than the individual that literally has $5 to spend this week. And so we have to dig into where those barriers are and figure out how we can best help them. And sometimes those conversations have to take place in the aisles. They have to take place right there with them because everyone's so differently.
Just a one-word answer, and then I'll move on. Where do you find your best conversations and discussions and empowerment with shoppers? in the aisles or in an office setting, for those of you that have offices? Julie, why don't you start?
One word.
One word. Aisle or office?
In the aisle.
In the aisle.
Yeah, in the aisle.
Aisle.
Okay. So what we know is consumers care about their foods. We know that they want more fruits and vegetables, they want more protein, they want more fiber, they want more whole grain. We know that. So we're starting to see a lot more things happening. And one of those things, as I alluded to a couple minutes ago, is called direct to consumer. So across the hall from our offices in Santa Monica, it's a new company called Ladder, who moved in, Tony, help me, it was maybe November of last year or something. So this is a company that's owned by, these are not endorses, Schwarzenegger, Kelly skier person. LeBron, thank you. LeBron James and Cindy Crawford. And they've got a protein powder. And their protein powder, they come in like 6 different varieties. You take a questionnaire online. They then determine which are the right protein powders for you. They are the only protein powder, according to them, that is actually NSF approved. A lot of the problems with protein powders that are out there is it doesn't go through any process to guarantee what the ingredients are. So theirs is NSF approved. It is a subscription model, direct to consumer. It costs you $60 a month. For that, I think you get 2 or 3 envelopes a week. So let's say you get 12. It is $60 a month. It's an annual subscription. You can opt out anytime you want. They launched in January. Today, they have over 80,000 subscribers. Add up the numbers. 80,000 times 60 times 12. I don't have a calculator. You can do the math. It's huge, and they're just getting started. What they're able to do is they've got a newsletter that talks about health and wellness. They've got an exercise physiologist who's doing everything that Arnold does. Not that I'd want to look like Arnold, but you know, all of that's taking place. So they've got consumers around the nation who are throwing money at them, big money, for this allure of not celebrity, but products that have been designed for celebrities around health and wellness. Now, the way this whole thing started is LeBron, and those of you that are into basketball will know this, I didn't. LeBron, in one of the finals games, had a sprained something and had to be pulled out of the game in the last quarter or last minute or something like that. So he then went to his trainer and this exercise physiologist who works for him and says, this can never happen to me again. I mean, this is my body and this is my job, and I make a lot of money, and if I get a sprain, this is not a good thing. So that's how they developed the whole Ladder platform. That's not important. What's important is on the right side, how many people we start going direct to consumer. And one of the things that you need to be able to tell your retailers is the move direct to consumer is growing by leaps and bounds every day as it relates to food. Dirty Lemon is another great example for a beverage product that's direct to consumer that's doing phenomenally well. If they want to fight e-commerce, if they want to fight direct to consumer, you are their best bet. You are the ones on the front lines that talk to consumers, that can build that relationship. And that's one of the things that I believe is most important about what we do and what you do, is to reinforce to retailers every single day that it's about the relationship. It's not about the product. Because we have people like this that are out there. Rob created Soylent, which is, you know, the product that you can live on forever with just shakes. But they've now figured that out, that people don't want to live on shakes. Duh. Let's talk to consumers. And now there's Soylent bars that are coming out on the market. And there's going to be Soylent more of everything coming out on the market. So these are the kind of competitors that we need to look at. And if we take a look at health, we've gone from heart health to bone health to gut health. For me, now it's brain health. I'm seeing more and more products coming out that's focused on brain health. And it's about EPA and DHA and omega-3s. And, we're seeing it at both ends of the spectrum. We're seeing it for kids, because nobody wants their kid not to go to Harvard or Stanford, unless you pay for them to go to Harvard or Stanford. Cheap shot, but worth it. And as we're starting to see people age and being more concerned about cognitive issues, whether it's Alzheimer's or whatever, so we're seeing at both ends of the spectrum, people really concerned about brain health. And this is something that I think we're going to see grow and grow. And we're seeing products coming out on the market like IQ Bar. And this is just the start of many, many more things that are taking place, and many more products around the globe that are focused on brain health. There's a new yogurt that was introduced at Expo West called Brainiac. I know that you met them, that they're creating a yogurt for kids that is focused on raising their IQ and having better brain health. And who as a parent doesn't want their kids to be the smartest kids on the block? It's interesting. I also think it's time for RDs to expand your horizons a bit. And I'm going to talk specifically about those of you like Whole Foods, like Hy-Vee, that have grocerants, because there's this great restaurant in London called Acorn. And what they have is they have an RD that goes around to your table, and you could certainly do this at Market Grill. I'm not sure you could do this at Wahlburgers or want to do it at Wahlburgers, but at Market Grill, where the RD goes to the various people before they order and asks them about their dietary needs and their dietary desires, and if they have any food allergies and so on, and they then help them order off the menu in a more healthful way. Why not? Why are we limited to the aisles? Why aren't your people going into Market Grill? Not to embarrass you. They'll be there. They'll be there. We're also moving from a technology standpoint. And by the way, that's true about Hy-Vee. And one of the reasons I love them, I was walking with a bunch of their executives through a store, and they actually they've got a bagel area next to their in-store bakery, and they make their own bagels and so on. And they have a whole bunch of variety of cream cheese. So one of the execs said, we make our own cream cheese. I said, what do you mean? They said, well, every morning the person who runs this goes into the produce department and finds strawberries or blueberries or chives or whatever else out of the produce department, takes it, and then mixes it into our cream cheese. And I said, that's really cool. And you're really dumb. And they said, what are you talking about? I said, there's not one sign here that tells people that you're making your own cream cheese. That's a wow, that's great. And in probably a week, all the stores now have signs that say, we make our own cream cheese. So that's the kind of company that Hy-Vee is, that they see something, they do it, they move on it, and that's why you guys are so great. So I want to talk a little bit about technology, and some of you might agree with this, some of you might not agree with this, and it's all about our DNA. We're seeing more personalized nutrition than ever before, whether it's 23andMe, now for an extra, I think it's $29 or $39. In addition to finding out who you're really not related to, you can find out everything about your DNA and the susceptibility to certain diseases, or everything from diabetes to hair growth to heart disease. They've got like 100 different attributes that they rank your DNA against. And what's really interesting about 23andMe is they're constantly testing for new attributes. So what happens is you'll get an email out of the blue that says, we tested your DNA, and good news, you're not going to die from this. Or bad news, go see your doctor. But we're really seeing a lot more of this personalization based on DNA, and it's just the beginning of what we're seeing. And the question that I have is, what RDs need to be doing? Why not partner with these companies that say, okay, you get this 23andMe profile, now go to your local, supermarket RD, and if you're in, Santa Monica zip code, go to Gelson's, talk to Jessica, now you know what to do, and have her custom make what you should be eating. So how do we tie this emerging technology to you? So it's not somebody just getting a report, but then bringing the report to you. And there's things you can do about it. You don't have to make a deal with Habit or any of these others. Even just put up signage. Send out messages to your shoppers that if in fact they have taken these tests, to bring them back to the store, back to you, and you can help them navigate the information that they find. AI is creating an entirely new experience. There's no question about it. And for me, that's a great opportunity, not only when it comes to DNA testing, but I think your biggest competitor, frankly, is Alexa. When I sit at my desk, and I happen to be addicted to pistachios, and everybody in our office knows it, and I'm running low on pistachios, I just tell Alexa, buy pistachios. And guess what? They're there that day at a good price. Wow. So what are you doing to really embrace this kind of technology? What are you doing to get an Alexa app for your retailer on Alexa? Alexa wants content. Alexa wants a daily tip from Hy-Vee about health and nutrition. They want that. It costs you nothing to be on that. How are you reaching out using these new technologies? Because what we know is broadband is widespread. What we know is that everybody is connected. And sure, we can talk all we want about the 3 people in the world who still have a flip phone. But the reality is you can get smartphones for $49 or free, and everybody is there. So how are you using this technology? It goes beyond social media. It goes to forming these partnerships, these content partnerships with all of these aspects. Because here's what we're coming to. The smart home, the smart refrigerator. My refrigerator is going to have a scanner built into the door, and it's going to have scales as the shelves. So I'm going to punch into my smart device that I never want to run out of orange juice. So every time I take that orange juice container in and out of my refrigerator, it scans the barcode, it calculates how much I've consumed, and as a result, it will then automatically replenish that orange juice, or it'll do a pop-up saying, I see you're going to run out of orange juice tomorrow. Do you want some? And that's going to change behaviors. And as we get to automated cupboards, that's going to change your stores. Because there's certain products that people don't have to shop for. I've got a brand name, Heinz ketchup. Most of America's always going to have Heinz ketchup. Sure, they're going to try Sir Kensington once, but then they're going to go back to Heinz. We've got these staples. We've got bottled water. We've got all these things that I don't have to shop for. So I'm going to reduce the size of supermarkets by half. And that's going to be automatically replenished either by the back of the room or by a local warehouse. And the rest of the store is going to be more exciting. It's going to be fun. It's going to be fresh. It's going to be RDs walking around. It's going to be our future. It's going to be a wonderful food fest, if you would. I actually had this painting commissioned in 1984 by an artist named Frederick Hoffer, who actually is a painter who's done a lot of work for Robert De Niro. And I met Frederick on the beach in Miami, and we just started talking, and I really liked him. And I said, I have this vision for the supermarket in the year 2000. This is 1984. We're still not there. I'm still trying. I'm still pushing. But he really put it in this beautiful painting. And I think for me, that's what I hope that our store can become. That we get rid of those brand names that we're never going to switch from, have those delivered, however they get delivered. I don't care whether it's autonomous vehicle, drone, or a human being. And let me have fun in the store. Let me relate to the, Bob the butcher and Betty the baker and Marvin the fishmonger. Let me have conversations and learn more about food. Because what we keep on hearing is what shoppers want is a friction-free retailing environment. We keep on hearing that. I'm not sure we understand what friction-free really means. What it means for me is fun. I don't want to walk past 45,000 products to get to what I need. Think about how your supermarkets are set up. This to me is idiocy. Walk in the produce department, puts me in a good mood, colors, aromas, great. Walk up and down the aisles, pass by 45,000 products. Boy, am I tired. Boy, do I want to get out of here. It's not the way people shop. When I go to a store, I shop for certain things. I might want food for dinner. I might want food for lunch. I might want food for breakfast or snacks. Why not have an area for dinner? Just dinner foods. And sure, there's going to be certain products that are in 2 or 3 areas of the store. Maybe milk is in all the areas of the store or whatever. But why do I have to go through 40,000 products that really are wearing me down to get to lunch? I don't get it. And if I look, a great example of integrated merchandising today is look at your pet food aisles that now have a refrigerated case for pet food. Used to sell pet food for 29 cents in a can. Now you're selling organic, free range, wheat-free, gluten-free, whatever, dog food for $5, refrigerated in the dog food aisle. That's what I'm talking about. Why do I have to wander around 40 or 50,000 square foot? When we look at the supermarket of the future, there's actually a store in Milan called the Supermarket of the Future, where foods that are made with the same ingredient are displayed together. And then it's hard to see, but in the produce department, you hold up an apple. And because of artificial intelligence, on the screen will tell you everything about that apple. Where it was grown, when it was picked, and you press another button, you can get recipes to make apple pie or apple strudel or whatever you want. It can also show you the nutrition, the price, pesticides that were used, the allergens, how it got to market, when it left, what the truck was. This is where we're moving. Technology is far beyond what our stores are. And technology will catch up. We've got to be ready for it. One of the things that I would love to see, and I got this idea, frankly, from a ShopRite, which is in, remind me, it's in above Morristown. It's a new ShopRite. It's a village store that has an atrium, a 4,000 square foot atrium, where people can take foods from their grocerant and go eat. Nobody. I'll think of it. And I'll interrupt dinner when I think of it. But why not have a greenhouse attached to a supermarket? Why can't you grow your own fruits and vegetables? Not all of them. But why can't you grow tomatoes, for example, in a greenhouse as part of your store? And consumers can go in and pick the tomatoes that they want right off the vine, as fresh as can be, and they can choose. It's personalization for produce in a mass way. You'll make more money. You really set the stage for fresh. Can't be more fresh than having growing your own produce. It's not on the roof. It's right there where people can go and pick it. Why not do things like that? Coles in Australia has something that's terrific. And I love this, and I urge all of you to do it. It's called a quiet hour once a week. And they're actually expanding it to, I think it's up to 3 times a week soon. And because we're seeing a lot of kids on the autistic spectrum that really can't go into a supermarket because of all the noise, the loudspeaker, the unwheeling of things, the packing of boxes and all that, they've got a quiet hour. And this has increased their business and their relationship with their shoppers enormously. By just saying for 1 hour a day, 3 days a week, no loudspeakers, no unpacking of boxes. You know what that says to a parent? We really care about you. We want you to not have to find somebody to watch your child while you're going grocery shopping, because we also want, frankly, your kids to learn about grocery shopping and learn about food. Why not do simple things like that? We're seeing waste-free supermarkets around the world. We're never going to be totally waste-free, but take a position and be as waste-free as you can. And that's a good thing. 40% of shoppers say they're willing to buy something online, but when you look at all these numbers, and we're going to talk tomorrow a lot about technology with Sylvain, while it's 40%, that means I'm going to buy one thing per year online. I am not a huge fan of online delivery. You probably figured that out by now if you read us and watch our videos. I am a huge fan of click and collect. And the difference is that consumers are very frightened to have a stranger come in their home. The people that this most appeals to is not the person who is sitting at home with nothing to do. They're time pressed. That's why they're ordering online. So they don't have this 2-hour window to sit there and wait for you to send them a text that says, I'm running late. I do order online, both for convenience as well as laziness, as well as testing them out. And I want to say about 6 blocks from where I live is my Gelson's. And I order from Instacart from that Gelson's. And I got to tell you, every single time, it's 6 blocks. They're late. I give them a 2-hour window, and they're late. Oh, running late, be another 10 or 15 minutes. I could have walked it faster. And it just annoys me, which is why we're also seeing a lot of you, and I know Hy-Vee is doing it as some of your others, saying, we want that control of delivery. We're going to have our own people deliver. We're not going to use a third party to deliver. We're also seeing more about local delivery than ever before. These small niche companies like Milk and Eggs, like Thrive, that don't have 40,000 product assortments, but have specific curated products that really meet the need and do it really well, and they don't want to be national. Again, for me, it's all about the relationship. That's what retailers need to understand. That's what we want to tell them. That's what you have to tell them. And to make you smile, I want to show you another shortened clip from a retailer in Europe who knows how to build relationships really well, and probably at the time of the year where it's more empowering than ever before. Take a look. How better to make people smile? So I've got one last question. We are going to give each of you 1 minute to answer this question. And then we're going to move into our next session, all about millennials. And the question is, what should your retail companies be doing in the future to satisfy the health and wellness needs of shoppers? Heidi, why don't you get us started?
I think just making the health information more readily available. So at Hannaford's, we have dietitians in almost every store on the floors, most of their working hours, to answer questions about anything, ingredients, recipes, cooking. So I just think making that information more available. to consumers, easily accessible.
Shelby?
Is this one on? Nope. Okay. I think it's advertising our nutrition professionals in the store and putting money behind them and saying these resources are available to you. They're free, or they only cost this much money, and this is a resource. Eggs are on sale, but also we have these dietitians in the store that can offer you lots of information and help you meet your health goals.
Yvette?
Obviously, hire more dietitians everywhere. But navigating through the nutritional complexities, I got really excited because we are actually partnering with Autism Speaks to do the Quiet Hour. Starting this month, we're actually piloting a couple stores. So listening to your customers, listening to what's around there, promoting as much as possible, and always hire all the dietitians.
So I actually had twofold on this one. The first one is we've got to go digital. As you mentioned, you can see them in the stores. They're walking down the aisles and they're not even looking up from their phones. So how are we going to get them to look up? We've got to push something in front of them that says, hey, your dietitian's standing right in front of you and can answer all your questions. The second they walk in the door. We've got to make that shopping experience fun, which kind of goes into my second one. We've got to build that trust with those customers. They have to trust us as the expert and the one they're going to turn to with the questions. I think our company, as you mentioned, in the Midwest, our customers generally love us. They love Hy-Vee, they love what we stand for, but we've built our brand, and we have to do the same around our health and wellness brand as well. And it goes much beyond health and wellness. We've got to be an ethically value company. We have to meet our morals, meet them where they're at. So if they're into sustainability, we need to be frontmost sustainability and just build that brand and trust with them.
Please help me in thanking a great panel.